Well, hi guys, I'm Greg Howlett talking about a brand new free arrangement that I just put out in the blog, greghowlett.com. It's called Only Trust Him. That's an old hymn that some of you will know. Sort of an advanced arrangement, a little bit outside of the beaten path of what I usually do. And so I wanted to do something that I think might be helpful. Actually, I get this request all the time. I'm going to take a few minutes and talk about how I arranged it or the thinking that went on behind the scenes, and also give you some performance tips. This is a cool thing that we can do now. Arrangers can talk directly to the people that are playing their arrangements. Couldn't do that when I was young. We were pretty much stuck. We'd go to the store and buy an arrangement and come home and try to figure out what was going on in the mind of the arranger. So hopefully this will be helpful. I think it will. So watch it, even though it's going to be probably a little bit long. I expect this will be 10 or 15 minutes. Even if you're not going to play the arrangement, maybe there'll be a couple things that you might find of interest in here somewhere. First thing I want to do as we get started is talk about the shape of the song. Now, when I talk about a shape in music, I'm referring to how the song sort of looks, the big picture. If you looked at it on paper, what is the song doing? Songs have different shapes. Some songs are very quiet all the way through. Some songs are quiet, but they have a climax halfway through, and then they go back to quiet. This particular song is a very popular shape. Well, it's almost a very popular shape. It's called a power ballad. And a power ballad is a pop form, very, very popular in pop music. You Raise Me Up, Josh Groban, great example. A song that starts quietly and then it gets bigger and bigger, and by the end everybody's throwing hats in the air and all happy. And it ends with a huge crescendo, or for him not a crescendo, a huge high note, and everybody leaves happy. Well, I do that some too. I've recorded His Eyes on the Sparrow. Some of my big orchestration stuff, No More Night, is that kind of thing. But more often, what I typically do is I take the power ballad and I put a twist on it, in that I'll build and build and build, and I'll get to a huge place, and then I come back to quiet and end it quiet. And that's what this song does. Only Trust Him is one of those songs that's going to get really, really big. As a matter of fact, way, way big. I'll be playing 8 notes at once before we're done with that song, but then we bring it back. And if you ever wonder why I do that, because I do that a lot, It Is Well, and so on. There's a lot of songs where I do that. The reason I do that is because of a philosophical thought that goes on in my mind. When you do a big power ballad, when people leave after they've heard a power ballad and a huge ending, the typical thing they're thinking about is the artist. And I want people to walk away thinking about the song. If you end a song quiet, it leaves them in a mindset to think about the song. Now, I know that's not a hard, fast rule, but it's just sort of the way I think. And I'm not saying it's a right or wrong thing. I don't judge anybody that does it differently. It's just, for me, that's the way I tend to like to do it, especially in Christian music. It's important that when people walk away, they're thinking about the message of the song rather than my technical ability. So this song sort of follows along with that. It's going to grow and grow and grow and get big, and then it'll come back and end very, very quietly. That's what we talk about when we talk about shape. Now, guys, let me say this. This is one of those songs, again, that you can really, really have fun with. You can hammer this thing. You can hammer a piano with an arrangement like this. But never forget that really the ultimate goal is to make music. And the music actually comes not from the huge decisions, but from the very little decisions. In other words, as you're building a song like this, you still have to have little ebbs and flows and tempo and dynamics. And even if you're in a section that's bigger than the previous section, you still want to have some times where it decrescendos maybe a little bit, and so on. That kind of stuff is very, very important. We don't shoot right to the top, we meander to the top, and that's how music is made. And so that's why I say right up front, the first marking on this arrangement says dramatically. And what I mean by that is I want you to really wring the music out of this piece. And that means have a lot of crescendos and decrescendos. Take some extra time with certain sections. A lot of them are marked, but a lot of them are not necessarily marked. But take the time, if you can, to do those sections with a lot of musicality. all the sections with a lot of musicality. So keep that always in mind. The micro decisions you make are just as important, if not more important, than the macro. And what I mean by that is the little tiny decisions you make in music are just as important as the big picture of what the music is trying to do. I'll demonstrate that with the intro. I'm going to play the intro all the way through for you, and starting at the very beginning. Here's how it goes. And so on from there. Okay, so first thing first, guys, notice how much vibrato and how many little crescendos and decrescendos were in there. That's what I'm talking about when I say wring the music out of the music. Make the music musical. Force the issue. That's where beauty comes from. Now, next thing I want to say, that intro is long. It's a minute long. This whole song is 4.5 minutes long. That's too long for some of you. Some of you don't want to play a 4.5 minute arrangement in your church, maybe for an offertory. So feel free to cut out the intro if you want. Now, I use long intros. I like long intros. Not everybody does. I can think of one place right now that told me they would not sell my music in their store. This was a college. They said, we will not sell your music in our store because your introductions are too long. Whatever. I like long intros. And so there's one here. It's on purpose. I introduce a chord progression that I'm going to use later in the song and so on. I'm creating a mood. But that being said, it won't offend me at all if you ditch that whole intro completely. Okay? That's a little deal between me and you. I do want to talk about that fancy run at the end of it. The fancy run at the end is a variation of an arpeggio that you often hear in this kind of music. You've heard this kind of stuff before, right? If anything, it's overused in music. And in this case, it sounds a little more complicated because I'm changing around the order of notes. I'm playing the second note first, and then 1, 3, and 4, and so on. The 4 notes are F, A flat, B, and E. This is a G7 chord with a flat 9 and 13 in it. But what I'm doing is I'll play the flat 9, which is A flat first, and then I play the other 3 notes. And then I just go up an octave, and I do that 4 times, I think. No pedal, it still sounds good. This is remarkably easy to do, guys. Way easier than the old way of playing arpeggios, and it sounds cool. So go steal it and use it yourself. That's all you have to do. If you do what I said, which is play the A flat, in this case, in your left hand, and then play the other 3 notes. After that, you'll find that this is a very, very simple arpeggio to learn. Okay? That's it for the intro. Now, when we start the song, again, we're starting it very, very quietly. But pretty quick, we're going to use a style called stride. And stride is very common in church music as well. Stride is characterized by striding up and down in the left hand. Okay? Usually you'll play an octave down low or some kind of open interval down low and then come up and play a chord. And so we're using stride in this arrangement a lot because it's big and it's powerful. And though when I am using it, I'm trying to use it tastefully. So you'll hear me using a lot of different voicings, different things that you haven't heard before. And most of all, I don't want it to be monotonous. But even when you get to, say, bar 22, that's stride. Do you hear that? You hear it? It's stride. You should recognize that probably from other music that you do. Well, let's move on. We're moving now to bar 34, and we've just come out of the first verse. We played a verse and a chorus, and we're going to go back. And we're setting it up with these, by the way, you see how I put a retard on verse 33. A lot of times I do these, it's a suspended dominant chord. I'm playing, right? Yeah, suspended dominant where I play that between sections sort of to build a little bit. It's a great chord to build on. And I always put a retard. Take your time through those little transitions. But when I come back in, I'm not going to play the melody. I'm going to play something that's close to the melody. It hints at the melody, but it's not the melody. And that's another thing that I like to do. Probably controversial. Not everybody likes it. But very often in this kind of music, I'll move away from the melody for a while. And so I'll play the same chords like I was playing the melody, the same length of time. In this case, I'm repeating the chorus, but I'm not playing the melody. I'm playing something like this. Okay, so the reason I do that is just because that's what I like to do. And there's a million arrangements of Only Trust Him floating around out there probably. And this is one way I know that that mine isn't going to sound like any of them. So that is there for that reason. Take it or leave it. Again, some people don't like that kind of thing, but I like to do it. All right, move on to bar 40 with me, guys. Bar 40, we're going to do an 8-bar, again, not melody. This is a transition. And we're moving from this level up to this level. Okay, so we're coming out of the first verse, which is, that's the quiet time or pretty quiet time. And we need to move up to maybe double forte, if that's how you say it. 2F, double forte. And so we're moving up a big dynamic jump. And we're also introducing more texture, which is more busyness into the song. So when we do this, we are going to use this transition. And the transition has accelerando on it, and it has a big crescendo on it, just to help us to get from here to here. That's the whole point. It sounds like this. Okay, so I don't know the song. I don't know my own song, and I didn't turn the page. But you heard what I did. I built it, and now we're into a busy section, and it's loud, and it's fast, and things are moving toward that climax through there. All right, moving on. We finish the first, and we go into the last chorus, and in the last chorus, which is at bar 63, 64, now we're going to play even bigger stuff. Too lazy to turn and get on the pedal, but you get the idea. Well, I probably should do it. Okay, and then in 72, excuse me, got to turn my phone off. In 72, we're doing the cliche modulation, and you hear that a lot, of course, in music. Again, I say cliche because maybe this is overused, but then on the other hand, one of the reasons it's overused is because it works so well. And what we're doing here is we're building even more. When you go up a half step, it creates this illusion of just a little more power, a little more excitement. And so we have that build there in 72. And we're only going to stay in there for the rest of the song, which is only a page. We're only a page away from done with the song. So we're not in that key for long. It's D flat. But that is your climax of the song. 74, bar 74 is the climax of the song. And He will save you, He will save you, He will save you now. Okay? And when we come to the end of that phrase, I do what I do, which is this is when I'm going to bring it way, way down and end the song quietly. You guys think, can that guy really play the piano? He can't even play his own music. Good point. Let's do this again. Okay, so we're right there. Boom, this is when we get quiet. Okay, this is when we're going to get quiet. Okay, so we use that 3-bar pattern there on starting at bar 80. That is just designed to bring us down off the mountain, back to something really quiet. And then I have one of those fancy things again at bar 83. Same thing as before, the notes are changed. It's a different chord. This is E flat 7 with a 9 in it. But you play all the B flats with the left hand, play the rest of the chord, and you'll find it very easy to do. All right, and then we end it really, really, really quiet, and just with some pretty chords and such, and that is your song. Hope you found that of value. I hope you enjoy playing it. Let me know if this was helpful. I plan on doing this a lot more coming up, and I plan to get other musicians involved as well, other arrangers, some of my friends that arrange, getting them talking about what they do. And so keep watching the blog. Take advantage of all the free resources out there for that, and I'll see you again soon.